Hi, Mindsphere. Do you know that thoughts are not always rational, especially when we are feeling strong and excessive emotions? Well, this will actually give way to negative thinking habits if, for example, we are sad or anxious. Well, if the modem has more cells, here's the explanation. Watch this one video before going to bed from 1%, so you can get the whole thing that I have. Okay, music. Well, before I start explaining, I want to let you know that actually there are psychological terms that you need to know. The first is sensation and the second is perception. In short, sensation. It is all things that come from outside and are captured by our five senses. Okay, for example, cold air, noise, from busy situations to sunlight, for example, which then dazzles us. So, what is captured by our five senses will actually be sent to the brain and given meaning. Well, this is the perception. How do you give meaning? This is what makes you give a response. For example, there is wind and the wind is strong and cold. Well, this makes you comment like that. The Czech Republic is cold today, right? For me, the Band jacket that appears is that you feel satisfied with. You already have our jacket. And that, earlier, was a simple example of sensation and perception, where we perceive something. It is actually influenced by various things, such as our mindset, our thoughts within ourselves, our feelings, our attitudes, and also things up to our beliefs. So perception is influenced by various things. And actually, if we experience feelings of happiness, satisfaction, or even sadness, it is influenced by the things mentioned above. It's the same as if we think, yes, how come very rich people can buy McD whenever they want and can buy fast food whenever they want? How do they perceive it? To a restaurant, to McDonald's or KFC, of course it's just normal. But for people who may have a low socioeconomic status, who have never been to KFC or eaten directly, of course their perception will be different. Hi. Now before we make a quick decision, how do we pay attention? An incident? Yes. The first thing is, yes, we have to give context to the incident, life experience, and that context is influenced by various things. Well, usually, if our thoughts are in sync with reality, we can give meaning and context correctly and healthily. For example, when you see your friend like that in the supermarket and trying to answer him, but he doesn't look at you. For example, if you're aware that he is in sync with reality, maybe he is aware that he might not hear the login. But there are also many conditions where thoughts are not in sync with reality. This makes us give the wrong meaning. Sometimes it's just not quite right. In the end, what appears is negative thinking. Sometimes like that. For example, if the lottery is active, your friend is very far away and he doesn't visit. Maybe if he has a bad experience with friendship. If maybe you don't have many friends. Maybe you feel bad about yourself. Maybe you will feel that you will have the perception that your friend is with you. And actually, he pretended not to hear it, but deliberately didn't reply like that. Well, this finally made you feel bad about yourself. So you had negative thinking. Well, if you feel like that, actually as a human being who does anything, you're not alone. There are many like that. But the good news is that we can actually control this negative ning pattern, and this time, I will summarize the 3 most common negative thinking patterns that I and the 1% mentors encountered during the cinema consultation program. Usually, we also give this explanation to clients who have similar problem Arabic song. Hopefully, this video can help you understand more deeply about negative thinking and know how to manage it. Well, for other mindsets or thought patterns, just check the playlist that I have listed in the description box. Please just click on it. Okay, let's start. So what are the 3 most common negative thinking patterns? The first general pattern is an all-encompassing pattern. So it's like this pattern appears after there is one or a series of events that make an average measurement. Like that event will affect your whole life. So it's like even if it's only a little bit, but your average will affect all of that. Even though before, for example, the words that often appear are always or never. For example, you have ever made a mistake. You have said something wrong when you were speaking in public. In the end, you feel that it was because you said something wrong. You think that I will be like that, and you will always fail. Giving a speech and milestones will never be able to give a speech like that. Well, This is an average, or like, for example, you've tried to start a business and failed. Then you feel like, I can never start a business like that. I'll never be able to. I'll always fail. Well, that is an example of a mindset or a pattern of generalizing. Well, this is what can cause negative thinking when you, later, if you find a similar situation, what do? Just be aware of it and remember that it's not always like that. Second, jump to conclusions. Napoli usually comes from making assumptions that you don't know whether they are true or not. For example, assumptions about how other people think about us, or assumptions about how something will definitely happen, like the example at the beginning, when you told your friend at the supermarket that there was no landslide, but he didn't hear the landslide, so he jumped to the conclusion that, oh, it seems like he hates me, or he doesn't want to greet me, and so on. Well, it's as if you can read his mind. It's as if he really heard, but pretended not to hear. Well, that's actually just a direct conclusion, even though you don't know the proof. And maybe there were other factors in that incident. There are other things that actually happened. Right? Well, the last one is the pattern of blaming Nasri. This is a negative mindset where you blame a presentation on one party only. For example, yourself or someone else or whatever is being blamed, even though it is actually an incident. Whether it's a competition or maybe a disaster or something like that. Those are the factors. There are so many of them, and they often involve things that we sometimes can't control. For example, we come to an event and maybe there isn't anyone to chat with. This ends up making us feel disappointed and ends up being different. I'm just not good at chatting, or I'm an introvert, and so on. And other people also seem to see that I'm not having fun. Well, actually, you don't chat. There are many factors. So it's like repenting and blaming yourself, or other people, or blaming anyone. Just realize that maybe you're just not lucky there. And maybe you're at fault too. But yes, you can't completely blame yourself. You're in that situation. So the question is, how do you reduce it if you experience the 30 negative thoughts above? Well, the answer is actually at the beginning. Namely, how do you give context to the incident? And how do you perceive something? This negative mindset is one of the way our minds believe something that is actually not quite right. There are so many things that influence us until we can think negatively. So this fish is your perception, right? So you have to know how the mind prepares something. How do you understand how to think holistically? Well, there are various ways to overcome this. Talking about overthinking or negative thinking, whether it's written down like using a worth it. This is a thinking journal or using worth it. For example, Socratic thinking. Well, we have many tools that are actually from 1%, and maybe there are many. From the length, I've gotten the benefits from watching YouTube videos. It seems like 1%, and finally, it's helped, so I can think more healthily. Right. There are even a lot of testimonials that come to my personal DM on Instagram, saying that 1 spoon really helps, right? Well, but sometimes, there are also people who find it difficult to understand their own train of thought as a whole, or to know how their friends think and so on. Do I really know that? I know you yourself probably realize that here I'm going to say, maybe you, bro. Consultation. And I also realize that there are many comments that say, this is an advertisement for oral consultation. There are not many people who are maybe not like you. Those like you may watch the video and get cured. But sometimes there are many people who watch the video and don't get cured. So it's like here, I will advertise. Yes, ancient advertising. So for friends who might. Friends don't seem to understand how to think holistically, how to end negative thinking. My suggestion is that you only join 1% mentoring. Why? Because this will make you more aware of your thoughts. And yes, these mentalities can also accompany you to tell stories like that. Reduce negative thinking, because one of the solutions that our husbands also don't tell us doesn't have to go to a mentor. But it seems like sometimes there are many people who don't have friends to talk to, or have friends, but it's like they're judging the world. Right. So please do that if you feel that you have a problem with being perceived as having negative thinking. You can mentor 1% like that. And for all of you who say, oh my gosh, then keep advertising like that. Maybe you're not the target market, dude. Hi. So it's like, Or maybe you haven't opened your mind yet. Consultation is like that. And there's a gecko like that. Everyone has their own choice GTA to want to consult or not. But I think in the end, the more comments I see, the more it seems like one message is always an advertisement and yes and so on. That's all it is. So it's like, yeah, for friends who feel they need consultation. Please, GTA consultation can click the link in the description for friends who feel that they have been helped by the videos. 1%. Please practice it for those who don't feel helped, who feel like it's bad, or who have participated, but it turns out to be bad. Please give feedback if you agree, and hopefully friends' feedback can be okay too. So it's like, okay. When I face friends who always say 1% is advertising, I say firmly here that I will continue to sing Clan because I feel that products and services are 1% useful. And finally, back to what misses from this video. Yes, if not all the negative thought patterns that are sent now. That's all true. So now friends, just try a little bit. Try to change the perception that is produced by our minds that we may not be aware of. Perception, it automatically, suddenly turns out that it is obtained by our minds like that. Yes, finally, maybe Gaven 1% well says, if for example you feel you need mentoring, please click on the description link. I'll wait for you at Menteng 1%. Okay. Thanks.